I've heard that some people are upset about that, and the right have been like losing their mind. They're just like, oh my God, dogs and cats are living together, and like I said, aren't there more important things we should be talking about rather than if I dress like a slob?
Well, there are more important things that we should be talking about, but that doesn't mean that you should dress like a slob. Like a homeless drunk under a bridge with cans of Schaefer. Cans of Schaefer. You remember the United States Senate? In theory, the most esteemed legislative body on the planet Earth. And you look like, a meth dealer rolling out of a single wide with stuff around your nostrils. You know what I'm talking about? I knew you would. Little Stevie cover here. Got a little Stevie cover. Well, happy Tuesday to you, and welcome back. Welcome once again to our humble radio broadcast. We remain at 888-630-9625. And it's been a long 21 hours, hasn't it, Michael? Because a lot goes on in 21 hours in Washington and the United States, America, around the world. Lunch Bucket Joe Biden, he is in New York City, New York, the city that never sweeps. And boy, it never sweeps now because there are too many illegal alien homeless people sprawled out on the sidewalks. Makes it much more difficult to sweep. You got to get the old dust broom and get between them, Sweeping New York needs a good hosing down, that place, doesn't it? It's pretty, but he's up there, and he's staying all fancy, of course. He's the president of the United States, after all. And he had a couple of fundraisers last night, and he attacked those horrible MAGA Republicans because he's a vicious, vituperative, divisive leftist with only half a brain to deal with. So, honestly, if he had a brain, he'd be out in the street knocking it around with a stick. That's Joe Biden. He's our president. Not a bright man, not an honest man, not a good man. Ask Tara Reid. Where is Tara Reid anyway? I think she fled the country, didn't she, Tara Reid? She fled the country to get away because she thought maybe, Joe Biden would give a wink and a nod to the Clintons and she'd end up hanging herself in a jail cell or something like that. Because that's sort of how things go if you get on the wrong side of the. So that's the that's the thing. He's in New York and he's going to go speak to the United Nations today. The United Nations has a Security Council, and the Security Council is world powers: Russia, China, France, Great Britain, the United States, and Joe Biden, the United States. We're the only ones that are there. Russia's not there, China's not there, France isn't there, the United Kingdom is not there because Joe Biden is such a joke that nobody even shows up anymore. But he's going to go give a speech today. We don't know what time. It's supposed to be 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll see about that. He might have to sleep in or reheat his porridge, or maybe there'll be a bonus episode of Hazel on today on Antenna TV, and he won't be able to leave the suite. I'm not sure which luxurious hotel he's staying at. I assume he's at a luxurious hotel in New York City. But he had a couple of fundraisers last night, and that was it. At our expense. And today he's going to go speak to I guess kind of an almost empty room at the United Nations because who wants to hear him? What do you think he's going to talk about? I'm going to guess he talks a lot about the weather. Say the weather's kooky, isn't it? If we just steal more of your money and your stuff from you, we'll make the weather better. This is what they're actually saying. They say it with a straight face, although they don't really say anything with a straight face anymore, do they? Because that's a slur. To say straight face, isn't it? You can't say that. Has that been banned yet? I suspect. If it hasn't been yet, then it will be soon. So Biden to face spotlight in UN General Assembly while Xi and Putin are no-shows. So are France and the United Kingdom, but pay no attention to that. And Joe Biden to address the 2023 United Nations General Assembly in New York. NBC News is excited to announce because they're fluffers for the Democrat Party at NBC News. And there's more in that story that I want to share with you coming up, too. Also, Senator Ted Cruz, he's got a podcast. Turns out he's got a podcast. Doesn't he? Do you have a podcast, Michael? Yeah, come on. Why don't you have a podcast? Everybody's got to have a podcast. It's a podcast world. It's and Ted Cruz, he's got a podcast, says Democrats are going to parachute in Michelle Obama at the last moment and jettison Joe Biden. I've been talking about this for how many months now? On and off. I don't flog it every day or anything, but talking about this for months. Talking about this at Newsmax the other day, too. But the Democrats, they could win easily. They'd win in a walk if Michelle Obama would just agree to move back into the White House and let Barack Obama and his, minions be the driving force behind everything. In fact, Ted Cruz says in the podcast that it's really Barack Obama and his minions running the show in the Biden White House right now anyway, which I've also talked about here. But talking about Michelle Obama becoming the nominee, the Obamas move back into the White House, the Democrats loot stores and burn police cars to celebrate and attack people on the street with wrenches and things. Speaking of a lot of Democrat violence since last we met, also because the Democrats are violent. I don't know if you know that. Who do you think's committing all these crimes out here? If they had one MAGA hat wearing, Trump T-shirt wearing criminal, everyone would know the person's name. We would have wall-to-wall coverage for a month on a single crime by a MAGA hat wearing, Trump T-shirt wearing, and by exclusion. And it's all Democrats, all the shootings, all the carjackings. We got. In fact, they arrested somebody in Washington, D.C., happily, a 19-year-old Democrat who shot and killed that little girl in her car driving with her mother on Mother's Day. And the Democrat just shot and killed the little kid because that's what Democrats do. Speaking of Democrats, so we'll have some crime updates because Democrats, and we were listening to John Fetterman there. We got better things to do. Geek, geek, geek. This guy, I got to tell you, he should turn himself into the authorities, I think. He is, what a maroon. And look what they're doing to, and then what he also used language that was unbecoming of a senator. And now they're going to have to change the speech code in the Senate, too, to accommodate Fetterman because this, under bridge dwelling, cans of Schaefer beer drinking United States senator who is really indistinguishable from a hobo. No, a hobo, living under a bridge with a stick over his shoulder and a do-rag with his stuff in it, like Jamie Raskin, who's a pirate. And so we got that. Fetterman dresses down critics of U.S. Senate dress code reform. That's a little play on words by The Guardian there. And they got more on him, too. Fetterman is attacking Ron DeSantis. And and then he's attacking Nate Silver of the political predictions guy. I dress like you predict. All right. Well, no, you dress worse than he predicts.
And it's the same line he used on DeSantis.
And it's pretty much the same line that he used on DeSantis. Now it's going to be a running gag for him. I dress like you, ... right? Or as Joe Biden would say, period, because he doesn't know what an ellipsis is. So we got that Fetterman thing going. And the Democrats in New York, New York City, they're back in New York. They murder a lot of people and rob a lot, and people get thrown in front of subways, and women are attacked, and nobody does anything because if you do anything, then the Democrats will charge you with murder because the Democrats love murderers, but they hate U.S. Marines who would intervene on the behalf of helpless, innocent people in a subway train. The Democrats, they love crime. They love murder. They love carjacking. Which one do you think they love most, Mike? I guess generally crime, because that covers a lot for the Democrats, but they love crime and criminals, and they hate you, if you're a normal person, law-abiding taxpayer, and your boys are boys and your girls are girls, then they despise you because they're coming for your children, just like Hitler and Lenin and Stalin. They're here. They're the left. They're not liberals. But in New York City, they're now, they've already taken down a statue of Thomas Jefferson in City Hall that stood there for 187 years. And the Democrats took it down. And they took down the statue of Teddy Roosevelt in front of the Natural History Museum, I guess it is, on the west side, Central Park West. They took that down because they hate Teddy Roosevelt and they hate America because they hate pretty much everything especially if it has anything to do with the United States of America. They're filled with hate. And if you're pro-American, and if you belong to a group like Tea Party Patriots or anything like that, then they'll sick the IRS on you to sideline you leading up to presidential elections because they're fascists. That's the thing about them. You know, Hitler's party was called the Socialist Workers' Party, just by the way. So we got that going for us. So, yeah, they took down the statue of Thomas Jefferson after 187 years in the City Hall in New York City to make room for criminals to sit comfortably and plot their next crimes. They took down the Teddy Roosevelt statue outside of the Natural History Museum, Central Park West. And now the New York City Council, they're moving to yank monuments out of New York City everywhere, like Christopher Columbus and Columbus Circle. They want to take that down. George Washington, there's a monument to George Washington. They're going to tear it all down because they're the Taliban. They gave Afghanistan to the Taliban because they've got so much in common with the Taliban. They're the ones that abuse women, give a standing ovation to Roman Polanski, who drugged and raped a 13-year-old girl repeatedly in Jack Nicholson's hot tub, but leaving that aside. And, of course, Harvey Weinstein, he led the standing ovation. Meryl Streep helped because they love child rape more than most, I think. The Taliban does, too, coincidentally. Just as a matter of fact, little side story there. But that's pretty amazing. And, and then they're the party of Bill Clinton and the internship program. And what was his name? Gary Studs and the little boy, Democrat, member of the House of Representatives who was raping a little boy on Capitol Hill, leading to the joke. Why don't members of Congress use bookmarks, right? They just bend over the pages because the kid was a page with a blue jacket running messages in the Congress, but Democrats figured they were there to have sex with because, they're Democrats. They're demented. And they love, they're the party of Jeffrey Epstein, of course, and, who didn't kill himself. And what's her name? Ghislaine Maxwell. She's in prison, right? But she won't squeal because she doesn't want to end up hanging herself in her own jail cell while nobody's looking either. So she won't squeal. She's not talking. Because of fear. Tara Reid fled the country after being assaulted by Joe Biden out of fear, because the left rules through fear, and the Democratic Party isn't. And they're not liberals, they're leftists, and they rule through fear, and rule is the right word. So in New York, they're going to take down all the monuments of Thomas Jefferson, Christopher Columbus, George Washington, because they hate America. And that's the Democrat Party. That's who they are. That's the thing. And got this crazy story about the missing F-35 fighter jet. And we will update you on that. The Marine Corps grounded flights after a string of mishaps involving the F-35 stealthy fighter. And that's what they call, plane crashes, mishaps. It's kind of a euphemism, you might say, but nevertheless. And there are also reports that they found a debris field, or as John Fetterman would say, a debris field, because he is not a smart man. And the Democrats love him, and that means the media loves him. I think they want to date him, from what I can tell. Officials find debris field in South Carolina after F-35 fighter jet mishap. It's still a mishap. And also Minneapolis, where the Democrats started their war against the police. And it's led to untold murders and carjackings and assaults of all manner because the Democrats hate the police, but they love criminals and they love crime. Isn't that crazy? Minneapolis police suffer from historically low staffing shortages. And the chief there says it's not sustainable, and he doesn't see it getting any better. And this is because the Democrats hate civilization, and they love anarchy, and they shoot people every day. It's, it's your Democrat Party. Also, it turns out American kids don't have manners anymore, That's because of the Democrats. We've got the Iranian hostage release. We paid $1.2 billion per hostage, U.S. taxpayer dollars, because Joe Biden is a moron, and he's going to get more Americans kidnapped by the bad guys of the world. But the news media loves it, you'll be surprised to learn. You know, we gave over these guys that were stealing nuclear secrets and ballistic missile secrets, but never mind that. The media just won't mention that. And we are at 888-630-9625.
What a maroon. What an ignoramus.
Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. All right, we are back. Democrats trying to destroy America and our history. They're the Taliban, the American Taliban. They're shooting everybody. They're cruel to women. They're Democrats. All right, let's go to the phones. Let's go to James calling from Fredericksburg, Virginia. James, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris.
Hey, James.
I'm also a son of a World War II aviator.
Excellent. What did he fly?
Over Germany. He was a B-17 pilot, instructor, and mission leader.
Very good stuff. Very good stuff. And I know you called in with something else, James.
Yes, I'm sorry. Theodore Roosevelt was truly one of our greatest presidents, truly deserving of being on Mount Rushmore and all the accolades he's received in the past. I drive for Lyft, and I've got 10 years driver experience.
Uh-huh.
And no one, when I tell people my car's name is Theodore, no one has objected. Not one person. And I drive in D.C., and I can tell you I run the gamut of political diversity.
Sure. Yeah, the whole spectrum. It's D.C. From kind of crazy to completely crazy.
Never objected.
Well, you know, it's the left is just here to tear down our history, right, James? That's the point. And you know, if you look at what Pelosi taking down portraits and statues in the Capitol, they were all Democrats, and they took them all down because they were racists, because the Democrat Party is the party of racists and racism. And, you know, we still have the Woodrow Wilson Bridge here in Washington, D.C. It should be renamed the Hiram Revels Bridge, the first African-American to serve in Congress who was naturally a Republican. And also the Russell Senate Office Building, named for a segregationist, racist Democrat from Georgia, Richard Russell, should also be renamed the Hiram Revels Senate Office Building. But honestly, I think the Republicans on Capitol Hill are too dumb to get anything done that might be to their political advantage. They really need to hire me and pay me a lot of money so they'll know what to do. Isn't it an interesting coincidence that Kristi Noem, Governor Kristi Noem, found herself in the midst of a bit of a scandal last week involving she's separated from her husband and has been for a couple of years, and he moved out ages ago, and that's very sad. And then Corey Lewandowski of the Trump team involved in a relationship with Kristi Noem, and that story, which apparently has been well known for a long, long time, well over a year, by people in the know. People in the know. I'm tapping my right temple with the tip of my right index finger. You know, people in the know. They knew. But the big story broke last week, and, you know, if she's in line to maybe run as President Trump's vice presidential nominee or something, this story comes out, and boom. And at the same time, another story that is sexual in nature involving Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. At the same time, just a coincidence, I'm quite sure. I have no doubt. And did you know that there are night vision video cameras inside of movie theaters watching your every move? I think they call it the Pee-wee cam. It's the Pee-wee Herman cam. They got them in theaters now. And that the theater released video of Lauren Boebert and a man with whom she went to see a movie. And there was, according to reports and videotape, some touching in the movie theater that some might deem to be inappropriate in a public place, even though it's in the dark. It's in the dark. And what do you come on. Did they say it was a first date? There are some reports that say it's a first date. And that's kind of interesting, I got to say, because, getting somewhere. That's you go to the movies, it's dark, and nobody's looking at you except those, light-sensitive video cameras they have pointed at you, and then the theater will release the video as soon as the opportunity presents itself. And the man that she was with on a date, he owns a gay bar. He's so apparently a Democrat, and he owns a gay bar. And you'd think that would put her in good with the Democrats, but no, because they want to burn the country down and destroy everything in it, steal your stuff, in particular your kids. Man groped by Lauren Boebert during frisky Beetlejuice date owns gay-friendly bar that hosts drag shows. It hosts drag shows, the gay-friendly bar. And I guess if it hosts drag shows, it's probably a gay-friendly bar. My best girl and I, we were in Winchester, Virginia, beautiful downtown Winchester, Virginia, where many buildings are very old and they still have a statue to the Confederate soldier. And we were walking in this kind of main boulevard for about 4 blocks. They have it cut off to traffic, to automobiles, and it's foot traffic only, and it's really great. And there are great restaurants there. There really are. Violino, the Italian restaurant, which was closed when we were there last week because the family's in Italy, hitting the refresh button, and then they're going to come back. But we had a great time, and we were walking there minding our own business when this dude with long flowing red hair went by, and he was dressed like a lady. And we continued to walk, and there in downtown Winchester, Virginia, in a 130-year-old building, there was a place I think it could be described as a gay-friendly bar, and there was a big drag show going on in there in Winchester, Virginia, because the Democrats are here. They're everywhere. They're like monkeypox. They're kind of like monkeypox, aren't they? Speaking of which, there's a monkeypox T-shirt over here. You see the monkeypox T-shirt? We got a monkeypox T-shirt from a nice listener. So we got that going for us. Just amazing stuff. Yes, sir.
Ultimately, all future date nights have been canceled, and I learned to check party affiliations before you go on a date. But all in all, it was mostly a lovely time, and I've taken responsibility for my actions. Would love to know how the musical ended.
They got kicked out of the movie theater. You probably heard about that. But, the usher came in, and I'm sorry. They were, according to reports, they were vaping, or she was vaping using a vape device. Don't know what was in the vape because you can put different things in the vapes, but short for vaporizer. It's a vaporizer, like Marvin the Martian. He had a vaporizer too, didn't he? Yeah, he did, and he was very, very angry too, wasn't he? So, are Democrats Marvin the Martian because they're angry and have vapes? A lot of people do these vapes. But she and her beau were asked to leave the movie theater before the movie ended. And so Lauren Boebert, who was doorstepped by TMZ, doing more news at TMZ than NBC News is, which is appalling but true. So a bar owned by Representative Lauren Boebert's apparent new beau has staged at least one drag show, according to a review of social media posts in January. The Hooch Craft Cocktail Bar in Aspen, it's in Aspen, Colorado, which is co-owned by Quinn Gallagher. Quinn Gallagher must be Irish, staged a winter wonderland burlesque and drag show. An invitation for the event reveals. And the January 2020 Aspen Gay Ski Week hosted an evening of cocktails, appetizers, and laughs at Hooch, according to a Facebook post at the time. Gallagher, a Democrat, was caught on video getting frisky. That's the terminology that we're going to use here. Getting frisky with Boebert, the Colorado Republican, apparently grabbing her breast while she appeared to rub his crotch as the pair took in a performance of Beetlejuice at the Buell Theater in Colorado. The two have reportedly been dating under the radar for months. See, that's not a first date then, is it? Because the other reports say first date, but that's a lot of silly stuff. Now, I mean, look, owning a bar in Aspen, everything in Aspen, Colorado is gay friendly. Now, the drag shows, look, Democrats show up dressed as they are. Look at Fetterman, for example. If he showed up dressed as Queen Victoria on the Senate floor, would you be surprised? No one would be surprised, except that, maybe people might say, hey, you stole that from Schumer. That's Schumer's outfit, dressing like Queen Victoria. So the New York Post writing the story says, Boebert, who also has a long history of arrests, has painted herself as one of the most anti-LGBT members of Congress. Saying that you're anti-LGBT is probably pretty ridiculous. Are you talking about hardcore gay child porn in kindergarten? Because if that's what we're talking about, and I think it probably is, then that's not anti-LGBT QQIAA #ampersand. That's pro-child and pro-sanity, and leave the kids alone, you bunch of lunatics. So that's the thing. Take your children to church, not drag shows, she exclaimed on X in June of 2022. She also attacked the use of drag queens for military recruiting. See, that makes her anti-LGBT, right? Because they got like a musical with men in dresses doing high kicks for military recruiting ads under Thoroughly Modern Millie and Joe Biden, of course, because they want to weaken the American military because that's good for China and for Putin and for Russia and for everything else that is anti-American. Iran, they love Iran. Joe Biden is now the #1 state sponsor of terror in the world, isn't he? Anybody else give Iran $6 billion? I don't think so. No, sir. That's your Democrat Party completely nuts. Also, speaking of the Democrats, the Daily Signal, the wonderful website of the Heritage Foundation, has the story today, and the Washington Post doesn't. DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, awards anti-terror grant to LGBTQ group to indoctrinate 6-year-olds. See, that's the thing. I played the audio for you yesterday of we were guessing a 6-year-old boy sitting in the interrogation room, and a man came in and put a stack of $100 bills on the table, said, that's $10,000. You want that stack of $10,000? Or I'll give you 2 Oreo cookies, right? And guess which one the 6-year-old boy picked?
$10,000 cash, or, wait a minute,
Here it comes.
this, 2 out-of-the-box Oreo cookies.
Right out of the box.
Huh? Are you
Oreos.
sure?
Oreos.
That's $10,000 cash.
He pointed his finger at the Oreos.
Do you want the Oreo cookies?
He
Are
wants-
you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
Speak up, kid, or otherwise you might not get the Oreos. So that's a 6-year-old boy. He can't. It's not that he can't decide. He did decide he would take 2 Oreo cookies over a stack of $100 bills, amounting to 10,000 American dollars. The Biden administration has awarded an anti-terrorism grant, naturally, because they don't want to fight terrorism. We have open borders. We have ISIS bringing in people from Uzbekistan, documented. Pay no attention to that. But the Biden administration has awarded an anti-terrorism grant worth more than $500,000 to an LGBTQ activist group which distributes condoms and, quote, sex education, end quote, material to expand in-school support for LGBTQ youth as young as 6 years old. The manifesto of its school-based group, that's a school-based group, which is based on the Black Panthers. They've based their group on the Black Panthers, a radical, racist, violent, criminal, terrorist hate group, anti-American, that I mentioned. They're racist. The manifesto the group is based, their model on the Black Panthers, calls for abortion of the police, the erasure of the U.S. border, the reclamation of all lands stolen from indigenous peoples. You got to say peoples because, it's plural people. And this is the group that the Biden administration has given $530,000 to indoctrinate children as young as 6 years old because they're not on our side. They are radicals. They are extremists. And it's about time Republicans started speaking up and using the correct language because they're having their hat handed to them daily by the Democrat destructo machine and their fascist allies in the news media. The merger of state and corporate power. President Joe Biden's Department of Homeland Security announced that the Sexual Minority Youth Assistance League, it's the Sexual Minority Sexual Youth Assistance League, has received $530,000 in its targeted violence and terrorism prevention grant, right? It's the money supposed to be for targeted violence and terrorism prevention, but instead it's to make 6-year-olds think they're gay because that's the Democrat Party, not that they're a gang of child molesting perverts or anything like that. But although the grant is intended to, quote, prevent targeted violence and terrorism, end quote, and grant synopsis explains that SMYAL, the youth sex league that the Democrats love, will provide in-school support for LGBTQ plus youth, training for school staff and youth service providers, and resilience programming for LGBTQ plus youth age 6 to 24. That's in their charter. And they want to dismantle all the police, dismantle the border. They base themselves on the Black Panthers and our taxpayer dollars. Now, do you think you'll pay $500,000 in taxes to the federal government in your lifetime? Or will you work your entire lifetime so the Biden administration to pay into the federal coffers so the Biden administration can give everything you've worked your whole life for over to this group that wants to gay sexualize 6-year-olds under a terrorism grant? Isn't that great? That's your Democrat Party. That's Joe Biden. These people are unwell. And they have these networks that seek to abolish the police, abolish borders, and abolish the cisgender heterosexual patriarchy. And we're giving them hundreds of thousands of dollars to target 6-year-olds because, formerly known as the Gay Straight Alliance, the group renamed itself, like Acorn. They do a lot of renaming. When they're found out and exposed, so to speak, then they change their names. They used to be called the Gay Straight Alliance. A group renamed itself the Gender and Sexualities Alliances Network in 2015 to signal that its leaders have moved beyond the labels of gay and straight, because that's not all there is now. There's gay, straight, and then Democrat. And the limits of binary gender system. They want to get rid of a binary gender system. And of course, the cisgender patriarchy, because they're against that. It's your Democrat Party. They want to get rid of the police, the border, the patriarchy. They model themselves on the Black Panthers. They're targeting children as young as 6. And the Biden administration, that is to say the Democrats, are targeting the 6-year-olds as well. And whatever they used to be called, just forget about that. Now they want to abolish police, borders, and the cisgender heterosexual patriarchy. And Biden is giving them gobs of your money. They're unwell. And wait till you hear Ted Cruz saying that Barack Obama is really behind the curtain controlling all of this. That's coming up. Oh, I need to correct something. The Lauren Boebert and her boyfriend, let's say, and the theater. It was a live performance of Beetlejuice, not a movie performance. And I think I called it a movie theater, reportedly, but it was a live theater performance where the hanky panky got a hanky panky, right? Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Kevin calling from Northern Virginia. Very generally speaking, Kevin, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing, Kevin. What do you say?
Well, I wanted to take issue with your defending her.
Uh-huh.
She was at a live performance. She was reportedly not just thrown out for the...
Uh-oh.
She was thrown out because they were talking and wouldn't shut up, and she was also vaping. And if she's going to be that inconsiderate in a performance, absolutely throw her out right now. I don't care if they're groping each other in the dark. Who gives a damn? But if you're talking and vaping, get out.
Well, I wouldn't disagree with that.
I'm a conservative and a Republican, my friend, and I like what she does politically. But if she's inconsiderate like that, hell, throw her ass out.
Yeah, I would agree with that, of course. And more than that, apparently she was holding up her phone and making videos. And if you're sitting behind somebody at a live theater performance where you pay money to sit in there, there is nothing more annoying than somebody in front of you holding their phone up and making videos while you're trying to watch the show. And you're right, and talking and being rude. I agree with all that. My observation, I think, was that Kristi Noem and Lauren Boebert, both in the same week, find themselves embroiled in scandals that the news media loves. And they're both sexual in nature.
Well, yeah, I get your point there, but it sounded like you were defending her for being thrown out, and she shouldn't have been thrown out. Please make it clear. She should have been thrown out, maybe not for the sexual in nature thing, because whatever they're doing, it was probably very private, discreet, but who knows? You'd have to have a better camera angle. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think that's right. And there probably is a better camera angle, too, as it turns out. All right, Kevin, listen, I appreciate your critique. And of course, you're right. You're talking, you're making videos, you're vaping, you're being loud and obnoxious. And apparently they were asked more than once to calm down before they were ejected from the theater. So you are correct.